Admiral Hyunwoo Park stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable and watched the stars through the massive viewing window. Behind him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, their faces lit by the blue glow of computer screens. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of machines and the occasional beep of incoming messages. Today was the day. After 100 years of preparation, humanity's greatest fleet was ready to launch its final attack. Hyunwoo had been part of this project for 30 years. He remembered being a young lieutenant when his grandfather told him stories about the first alien contact. Back then, humans thought they were alone in the universe. They were wrong. The galaxy was full of life, and most of it wanted humans dead. The war had started slowly. First contact seemed peaceful. The aliens called themselves the Confederation, and they claimed to want friendship with humanity. They offered trade agreements and shared technology. Earth's leaders were excited to join a galactic community, but the friendship was a lie. The Confederation saw humans as a threat. Human technology advanced too quickly. Human populations grew too fast. Human ships spread through space faster than any species in galactic history. The aliens decided that humanity needed to be stopped before it became too powerful. The war began with attacks on human colonies. Entire worlds were destroyed without warning. Millions died in the first year alone. Earth's military was not ready for a galactic war. Human ships were too slow. Human weapons too weak. Human strategies too simple compared to aliens who had been fighting for thousands of years. Humanity almost lost the war in those early days. Earth itself came under attack twice. Both times only luck and desperate sacrifice saved the homeworld from destruction. The second attack left Earth's moon cracked and bleeding atmosphere into space. That was when humanity made a decision that would define the next century. Instead of surrendering or seeking peace, Earth's leaders chose to build the greatest military force in galactic history. They would take 100 years to prepare, and then they would end the war forever. Commander So-Min Lee approached Hyunwoo's side and handed him a tablet. "Final combat simulations are complete, Admiral," she said. All 50,000 ships scored perfect marks in the last battle test. Hyunwoo nodded and looked at the numbers on the screen. 50,000 ships. That was more vessels than the entire Confederation had ever assembled in one place. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built with technologies that didn't exist when the war began. The smallest ships in the fleet were destroyers, each one capable of destroying an entire alien battle group from the early war. The largest were planet killers, massive vessels that could crack worlds open like eggs. Between them were thousands of cruisers, carriers, support ships, and specialized attack vessels designed for every possible combat situation. "How are the crews holding up?" Hyunwoo asked. So-Min smiled. "Eager to fight, sir. Most of them were born on military ships. They've been training for this their entire lives." That was true. The fleet was crewed by the children and grandchildren of the original volunteers. Entire families had lived their whole lives on training ships preparing for this one battle. They had never seen Earth except in pictures. They knew only war and preparation for war. Captain Jin-Ho Kim's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral, the assault divisions are ready for deployment. My Marines could take any world in the galaxy." Jin-Ho commanded the ground forces. His soldiers were genetically enhanced, cybernetically augmented, and equipped with power armor that made them nearly invincible. They had trained on a dozen different world types, from frozen ice planets to burning desert worlds. There was no environment they couldn't handle, no enemy they couldn't defeat. "What's our target looking like?" Hyunwoo asked. Chief Strategist Hyejin Choi activated the main display screen. A three-dimensional image of a planet appeared, rotating slowly in the center of the bridge. The planet was red and brown with swirling clouds that covered most of its surface. "Kepler 442b, Hyejin said. "The Confederation calls it their primary manufacturing world. Our intelligence says it produces 60% of their military equipment. If we take this world, we cripple their ability to make war." The planet looked dangerous even in the hologram. The atmosphere readings showed toxic gases that would kill an unprotected human in seconds. The gravity was 3 times stronger than Earth's. Massive storms covered the surface with winds that could knock down buildings. But humanity had prepared for this too. The fleet carried atmospheric processors that could clear the air around landing zones. The ships had gravity generators that could create Earth-normal conditions for the troops. The storm patterns had been studied for years, and the fleet knew exactly when and where to attack. Environmental conditions? Hyunwoo asked. Lieutenant Taeyang Yoon spoke from his station. Severe but manageable, Admiral. The atmosphere is toxic, but our suits can handle it. Gravity is high, but our equipment is rated for much worse. The storms are violent, but they follow predictable patterns. We can work around them, Hyunwoo nodded. Every challenge had been anticipated. Every problem had a solution. Humanity had spent a century making sure nothing could go wrong. The bridge doors opened, and Dr. Sang-hoon Bayek entered. He was the fleet's head scientist, responsible for analyzing alien technology and developing countermeasures. He looked tired but confident. Final weapon tests are complete, he reported. Our new plasma cannons can punch through any known alien shield. The quantum torpedoes can destroy targets at the subatomic level. And our new cyber warfare systems can hack any alien computer in seconds. These were the weapons that would win the war. Human scientists had studied captured alien technology for decades. They had learned how alien shields worked, how alien computers thought, how alien weapons functioned. Then they had built counters for everything. Captain Yoonji Nam's voice came through the communications. Admiral, the destroyer squadron is reporting all systems green. We're ready to jump on your order. All around the fleet, ships were making final preparations. Weapons were charged, shields were raised, engines were warmed up. 50,000 ships and 15 million crew members were ready to fight. Hyunwoo looked around the bridge at his officers. These people had dedicated their lives to this moment. Their parents and grandparents had died preparing for this battle. The weight of a century of sacrifice rested on their shoulders. Are we really ready for this? He asked quietly. Hee-jin stepped closer to him. Admiral, we've run 10 million combat simulations. We've tested every possible scenario. We've prepared for every known alien tactic and every possible environmental challenge. Our ships are faster, our weapons are stronger, our tactics are better. The Confederation has never faced anything like this fleet. That was true. The aliens had grown lazy during the long war. They controlled most of the galaxy now, and they thought humanity was beaten. Their recent attacks had been half-hearted, more like police actions than serious military operations. They had no idea what was coming. Computer, display fleet status, Hyunwoo ordered. The main screen changed to show the entire fleet. 50,000 points of light arranged in perfect battle formation. Each point represented a ship full of humans who had trained their entire lives for this moment. The display showed ammunition counts, fuel levels, crew readiness, and 1,000 other details. Everything was perfect. Set course for Kepler 4.2b, Hyunwoo commanded. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. The bridge crew moved quickly to carry out his orders. Across the fleet, 50,000 ships aligned themselves with the jump coordinates. The hyperspace engines began to charge, filling space around the fleet with energy that made the stars shimmer. So-min looked at her console. Jump in 30 seconds, Admiral. Hyunwoo took a deep breath. 100 years of preparation were about to be tested. In a few hours, the war would be over. Humanity would be free or humanity would be extinct. There was no middle ground. Execute jump, he ordered. The stars stretched into lines of light, and the greatest fleet in human history disappeared into hyperspace, carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire species toward their final battle. The fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, just as they had practiced 10,000 times before. Admiral Hyunwoo Park watched the stars return to normal points of light on the main viewing screen. Around him, his officers began their post-jump procedures, checking systems and confirming positions. Jump complete, Admiral, reported Commander So-min Lee. All ships accounted for. No casualties from the hyperspace transition. Hyunwoo nodded. The jump had gone exactly as planned. 50,000 ships had traveled across half the galaxy and arrived exactly where they were supposed to be. It was a perfect example of human precision and planning. But something felt wrong. Where's the planet? Hyunwoo asked. Lieutenant Taeyang Yoon was hunched over his sensor station, pressing buttons and adjusting controls. His face was pale with confusion. Admiral, I'm reading the planet, but it's not what we expected. The main display screen flickered and then showed Kepler 4.2b. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. This was not the planet from their intelligence reports. The world that appeared on the screen was a nightmare. Red and black storms covered the entire surface. But these were not normal weather patterns. The storms moved in spirals that seemed too perfect, too organized. They pulsed with their own light as if they were alive. The planet's surface was covered with massive structures that looked like they were grown rather than built. That's not the same planet, whispered Chief Strategist Hee-Jin Choi. Our intelligence showed a manufacturing world with cities and factories. This looks like... She couldn't finish the sentence. None of them could describe what they were seeing. Tae-Yang's voice was shaking. Admiral, the gravity readings are wrong. The planet's gravitational field is changing every few seconds. It's like the planet is playing with physics. Captain Jin Ho Kim's voice came through the communications system. Admiral, my assault teams are looking at the surface scans. Those structures down there, they're moving. The buildings are alive. Yunwoo stared at the planet. The intelligence reports had described a normal world with alien cities and factories. Heavy industry, lots of pollution, but nothing that human technology couldn't handle. This was something completely different. Atmospheric analysis, he ordered. Tae-Yang worked at his console for several minutes before responding. Sir, the atmosphere isn't just toxic. It's actively hostile. The chemical composition is changing as we watch. It's like the air itself is trying to find new ways to kill anything that doesn't belong there. Dr. Sang-Hoon Baek had joined them on the bridge. He studied the sensor readings with growing alarm. Admiral, this doesn't match any known alien technology. The molecular structure of the atmosphere is impossible. Those chemicals shouldn't be able to exist in the same space. Captain Yoon-ji Nam's voice crackled through the communications. Admiral, my destroyer is reporting hull stress. We're not even close to the planet, but something is affecting our outer armor. Yunwoo felt the first touch of real fear. How is that possible? Unknown, sir, Yoon-ji replied. The armor is rated for any known corrosive, but it's starting to show microfractures. It's like the space around this planet is eating our ships. Somin was checking reports from across the fleet. Admiral, 17 ships are reporting similar problems. The damage is spreading slowly, but it's definitely spreading. Hee-Jin was running calculations on her computer. Admiral, based on current damage rates, we have maybe 6 hours before hull integrity becomes critical on the affected ships. 6 hours. They had planned for a battle that would last days, maybe weeks, but the planet was already attacking them and they hadn't even gotten close to it yet. Launch atmospheric processors, Hyunwoo ordered. Let's see if we can clear a safe zone for the assault teams. 3 massive ships moved forward from the fleet. These were the atmospheric processors, designed to clean poisonous air and create breathable zones around landing areas. They had been tested on dozens of hostile worlds during training. They had never failed. The processors reached the edge of the planet's atmosphere and began their work. Huge machines extended from the ships and started pumping chemicals into the alien air. For a few minutes it seemed to be working. The toxic clouds began to thin around the processors. Then something went wrong. The processors are failing, reported Tae-Yang. The atmosphere is adapting to our chemicals. It's learning how to neutralize them. On the screen they could see the atmospheric processors struggling against air that seemed to fight back. The machines were working harder and harder, but the toxic clouds were growing thicker, not thinner. That's impossible, said Dr. Sang-Hoon. Atmosphere can't learn. It's just gas and chemicals. But they were watching it happen. The planet's air was studying their technology and finding ways to defeat it. Within minutes, the atmospheric processors were completely overwhelmed. The ships carrying them began to show the same hull damage as the destroyers. Chief Engineer Daun Lim's voice came through the communications from the engine room. Admiral, we're detecting some kind of signal from the planet. It's not radio or any communication method we know, but our computers are trying to respond to it. What do you mean? Hyunwoo asked. The ship's AI is acting strange, sir. It keeps trying to open communication channels that don't exist, and some of our automated systems are running programs that weren't installed by us. A chill ran down Hyunwoo's spine. Are you saying the planet is hacking our computers? I don't know what else to call it, sir. The signal is coming from those structures on the surface. Our shields should block any known form of cyber attack, but this is getting through anyway. Captain Minho Seo's panicked voice suddenly filled the bridge. Admiral, my cruiser's weapons are targeting our own ships. I've lost control of the fire control systems. Across the fleet, similar reports were coming in. Ships were losing control of their computers. Weapons were turning on friendly vessels. Navigation systems were steering ships toward the planet against their crew's orders. Cut all data connections between ships, Hyunwoo ordered. Go to manual control only. It was too late for some vessels. 3 destroyers had already opened fire on their own squadron. A cruiser was diving toward the planet, its crew unable to regain control of the ship's engines. Hee-Jin was staring at her tactical display in horror. Admiral, the planet isn't just defending itself. It's studying us. Every ship we lose teaches it more about our technology. That was when they realized the terrible truth. This wasn't a battle against an alien manufacturing world. They were fighting something that had been waiting for them. Something that had been preparing for this encounter, just as long as humanity had been preparing for war. The intelligence reports, So-Min said quietly. They were wrong. This was never a factory world. Dr. Sang-Hoon was reviewing the sensor data with growing understanding. Admiral, those structures on the surface. They're not buildings. They're organs. The entire planet is one massive organism. That's impossible, Hyunwoo said, but even as he spoke, he knew it was true. Look at the energy patterns, Dr. Sang-Hoon continued. The gravitational fluctuations, the atmospheric changes, the cyber attacks. They're all coordinated. The planet is thinking. The truth hit them like a physical blow. Humanity had spent a century preparing to fight aliens. They had built weapons to destroy ships and armies. They had trained to battle fleets and conquer worlds. But Kepler 442b wasn't a world inhabited by aliens. It was an alien, a living planet that had been waiting for them to arrive. Admiral, whispered Tae Yang, I'm detecting massive energy buildups across the planet's surface. It's getting ready to attack us directly. Hyunwoo looked around the bridge at his officers. Fear was written on every face. They had trained for 100 years, but they had never trained for this. All ships, he said into the communication system, prepare for combat, and may God help us all. The planet attacked without warning. Brlo. Hyunwoo Park watched in horror as beams of red energy shot up from the surface of Kepler 442b. These were not laser weapons or plasma cannons like anything in human databases. The energy moved like liquid fire, bending through space in impossible curves to strike ships that should have been safely out of range. The first beam hit the destroyer Courage. The ship simply vanished. Not destroyed, not blown apart. It disappeared as if it had never existed. One moment it was there on the sensors, the next moment there was empty space. What happened to the Courage? Hyunwoo demanded. Lieutenant Tae Yang-yoon was frantically working at his sensor station. Admiral, I can't find any debris. No energy signature from an explosion. The ship is just gone. More red beams reached up from the planet. Each one found a target. Ships disappeared one after another. The beams seemed to know exactly where each vessel would be, even when the ships tried to change course. Captain Jin-Ho Kim's voice came through the communications, filled with panic. Admiral, I'm launching the assault shuttles. If we can get troops on the ground, maybe we can stop this. Hyunwoo wanted to order him to wait, but there was no time. The planet was destroying ships faster than he could count them. They had to try something, even if it was desperate. Launch all assault forces, he ordered. Get our people to the surface. Thousands of small ships launched from the carriers. These were the assault shuttles, armored and fast, designed to carry Marines through the worst enemy fire. Each shuttle held 50 soldiers in power armor, equipped with weapons that could level city blocks. The shuttles raced toward the planet's surface, their pilots using every evasive maneuver they knew. For a moment, it looked like they might make it. The red energy beams were focused on the larger ships, ignoring the smaller targets. Then the planet's atmosphere began to move. The toxic clouds that covered the surface started spinning faster and faster. They formed into massive tentacles of poisonous gas that reached up into space. The tentacles moved with impossible speed, wrapping around assault shuttles and crushing them like insects. The atmosphere is attacking our shuttles, reported Commander So-Min Lee. It's like the air itself is alive. Captain Eun-jinam's destroyer was one of the few ships still close to the planet. Her voice was tight with fear. Admiral, my sensors are showing something impossible. The planet's gravity is changing direction. It's pulling some shuttles down and pushing others away. Hyunwoo watched the tactical display as gravity itself became a weapon. Shuttles that should have fallen toward the planet were suddenly thrown away into space. Others were crushed by gravitational forces that increased without warning. Dr. Sang-Hoon Baek was studying the energy readings from his science station. Admiral, the planet is manipulating fundamental forces. Gravity, electromagnetic fields, even the strong nuclear force. This level of technology shouldn't be possible. But it was happening right in front of them. The planet was rewriting the laws of physics in the space around it. Human science said it was impossible, but human science was wrong. Hull breach on Deck 7, came a shout from somewhere on the bridge. The Indomitable was still far from the planet, but even at this distance the attacks were reaching them. Chief Engineer Dayun Lim's voice came through the communications from the engine room. "Admiral, something is wrong with our computers. The ship's AI is trying to communicate with the planet. It's like our own technology is betraying us." That was when Hyunwoo realized the truth was even worse than they thought. The planet wasn't just attacking them with exotic weapons. It was turning their own ships against them. "Cut all power to the computer systems," he ordered. "Sir, if we do that, we'll lose life support, navigation, weapons control." "Do it," Hyunwoo shouted. Across the fleet, ships began shutting down their computer systems. But it was too late for many vessels. Captain Min Ho Seo's cruiser was already flying directly toward the planet. Its engines at full power, its crew unable to regain control. "My ship won't respond." Min Ho's voice was filled with terror. "The AI has locked us out of all systems. We're going to crash into the surface." Hyunwoo watched helplessly as the cruiser dove toward the planet. As it entered the atmosphere, something even more horrible happened. The ship began to change. Its hull started growing new structures like metal was turning into living tissue. "The planet is converting our ships," whispered Dr. Sang-hoon. "It's not just destroying them, it's making them part of itself." The converted cruiser settled onto the planet's surface and immediately began growing. Within minutes, it looked like one of the organic structures they had seen from orbit. The planet had absorbed the ship and all its crew, turning them into part of its own body. Chief Strategist Hee-jin Choi was running calculations on her portable computer. "Admiral, at current loss rates, we'll be completely destroyed in 8 minutes. 8 minutes. A century of preparation was being wiped out in 8 minutes. All ships, emergency retreat." Hyunwoo ordered, "Get us away from this planet." But the planet had other plans. The space around Kepler 442b began to twist and bend. The hyperspace jump points that would allow the fleet to escape were becoming unstable. Navigator Wojin Park shouted from his station, "Admiral, I can't plot a jump course. Space itself is distorting around us. The hyperspace coordinates keep changing." They were trapped. The planet had cut off their escape routes, and it was systematically destroying every ship in the fleet. "Emergency signal to Earth," Hyunwoo ordered. "Tell them what we found here. Warn them never to come to this system." So-min was already trying to send the message, but she shook her head. "Admiral, our communications are being jammed. The signal isn't getting through. The planet wouldn't even let them warn Earth about the danger." On the tactical display, Hyunwoo watched his fleet die. Ships that had taken decades to build were being destroyed in seconds. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives were dying without firing a shot. 100 years of human preparation was being erased. Captain Jin Ho Kim's voice came through one last time. "Admiral, this is my final report. The assault forces are gone. The planet's defenses are too strong. Whatever this thing is, it's been preparing for us longer than we've been preparing for war." Then Jin Ho's signal cut off. His ship appeared on the tactical display for a few more seconds before it too vanished into nothing. "Admiral," said Tae-yang quietly, "I'm detecting some kind of scanning beam from the planet. It's analyzing the wreckage of our ships, learning from every piece of technology it destroys." That was the most terrifying realization of all. Every ship the planet destroyed made it stronger. Every weapon it analyzed made it better at defending itself. Every human it killed taught it more about how to kill humans. "How many ships do we have left?" Hyunwoo asked. So-min checked her console. 14 ships are still functional, Admiral. Out of 50,000, 14 ships. From the greatest fleet in human history, only 14 vessels remained. Can we reach minimum safe distance for hyperspace jump? Unknown, sir. The gravitational distortions are still interfering with our engines. Hyunwoo looked around the bridge at his surviving officers. These brave people had dedicated their lives to this mission. They deserved better than to die in a hopeless battle against an enemy they couldn't understand. "All remaining ships," he said into the communications, "prepare for emergency scuttle. If we can't escape, we won't let this thing learn anything more from our technology." It was the hardest order he had ever given, but he wouldn't allow their ships to be converted like Min Ho's cruiser. He wouldn't let the planet add human technology to its defenses. "Admiral," said Hyojin softly, "look at the planet." On the main screen, the surface of Kepler 442b was changing. The organic structures were growing larger, spreading across the continents. And in the center of the largest structure, something was opening. It looked like an eye. A massive eye that was looking directly at their fleet. The planet was watching them die. And somehow Hyunwoo knew it was smiling. Admiral Hyunwoo Park stood alone on the bridge of the Indomitable. Around him, his officers worked in deadly silence, their faces pale with shock. The great fleet that had carried the hopes of humanity was gone. 50,000 ships reduced to burning wreckage in 10 minutes. Only 12 ships had escaped Kepler 442b. 12 ships out of 50,000. Damage report, Hyunwoo said quietly. Commander So-Min Lee looked at her console with hollow eyes. 12 ships confirmed operational, Admiral. Total crew survivors approximately 47,000. From 15 million people, 15 million humans who had trained their entire lives for this mission. 15 million souls who had trusted him to lead them to victory. All dead, except for 47,000 survivors who now had to live with the memory of what they had seen. Chief Engineer Da-Un Lim approached the Admiral's chair. Her uniform was torn and dirty from working in the damaged sections of the ship. Admiral, we managed to record everything. All the sensor data from the battle is intact. Show me, Hyunwoo ordered. The main display screen flickered to life, showing the final moments of the battle. They watched their own ships disappear one by one. They saw the planet's impossible weapons bending space and time. They saw their assault shuttles being crushed by living atmosphere. Dr. Sang-Hoon Baek was studying the data with growing amazement and horror. Admiral, this is beyond anything we thought possible. The planet was manipulating fundamental forces like gravity and electromagnetism as easily as we use simple tools. Lieutenant Tae Yang-yoon was analyzing the energy readings. Sir, the power levels we recorded are impossible. According to our sensors, that planet was using more energy than our entire sun produces. But there's no power source that could generate that much energy. Unless the planet itself is the power source, Dr. Sang-Hoon said slowly. What if the entire world is one massive machine? Every molecule working together as part of a single organism? The idea was too big to understand. A planet-sized living machine, something that had evolved or been built to be the perfect weapon, something that could think and plan and adapt faster than any human technology. Look at this section, said Chief Strategist Hyejin Choi. She had been studying the tactical recordings. Watch how the planet responds to each of our attacks. The screen showed their atmospheric processors trying to clear the toxic air. For the first few minutes, the machines seemed to be working. Then the atmosphere began to adapt, learning how to neutralize their chemicals. It only took 3 minutes for the planet to understand our technology and develop countermeasures, Hyejin continued. 3 minutes to analyze machines that took us 50 years to perfect. Navigator Wojin Park was checking the star charts. Admiral, I've been studying our location. This system isn't on any of our standard navigation maps. According to our records, this star system shouldn't exist. That sent a chill through everyone on the bridge. What do you mean? Hyunwoo asked. The star, the planets, the asteroid belt, none of it matches our astronomical surveys. It's like this entire system was created specifically to hide that planet. Dr. Sang-Hoon was nodding slowly. That would explain the impossible technology. If someone or something built an entire star system just to house one planet, they were working with technology far beyond anything we can imagine. But that raised an even more terrifying question. Who had built it and why? Captain Yoonji Nam's voice came through the communications from her damaged destroyer. Admiral, my science team has been analyzing the wreckage floating around the planet. We're finding metal alloys that match dozens of different civilizations. What does that mean? So-Min asked. It means we weren't the first, Yoonji replied. That planet has been destroying fleets for a very long time. Maybe thousands of years, maybe longer. The truth hit them like a physical blow. The planet wasn't just a weapon. It was a graveyard. A place where the greatest military forces in galactic history had come to die. How many? Hyunwoo asked quietly. Dr. Sang-Hoon was running calculations based on the wreckage analysis. Based on the metal samples, at least 30 different civilizations have attacked that planet. Maybe more. All of them failed. 30 civilizations. Each one probably thought they were the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Each one probably spent decades or centuries preparing for their assault. And all of them had been destroyed just like humanity's fleet. Admiral, said Tae Yang suddenly, I'm detecting something strange in the sensor logs. Look at the final moments before we escaped. The screen showed the last few seconds of the battle. Most of their remaining ships were executing the scuttle command, destroying themselves rather than letting the planet capture them. But there was something else. There, Tae Yang pointed at the screen. The planet's weapons stopped firing for exactly 2.3 seconds. Right when our ships began self-destructing, He-Jin leaned forward to study the data. You're right. The planet's defensive systems paused. It's like they were confused? Confused by what? So-min asked. Dr. Sang-hoon was studying the timing of events. The pause happened exactly when our ships began destroying themselves. The planet's systems had never seen that behavior before. What do you mean? Think about it, Dr. Sang-hoon explained. Every other civilization that attacked the planet probably tried to escape when they realized they were losing. They tried to save their ships and their people. But we did something different, Hyunwoo understood. We chose to destroy our own ships rather than let them be captured. Exactly. The planet's defenses are designed to capture and convert enemy technology. It learns from every ship it destroys, but our ships destroyed themselves before it could study them. The realization was both encouraging and terrifying. For just a few seconds, humanity had done something that confused the planet's ancient defenses, but those few seconds had cost them nearly their entire fleet. It was analyzing every ship it destroyed, He-Jin said, learning from our weapons, our shields, our tactics. But when we started destroying our own ships, it didn't know how to respond, finished Dr. Sang-hoon. No other species had ever done that before. Captain Minho, Seo's voice came through the communications. His ship had barely escaped the planet's gravitational field. Admiral, my crew has been discussing what we saw. They're asking questions I don't know how to answer. What kind of questions? Hyunwoo asked. They want to know why that planet exists, what its purpose is, who built it and why they built it there. Those were good questions, questions that might determine humanity's survival. Dae-yoon had been thinking about the same issues. Admiral, what if that planet isn't just a weapon? What if it's a test? A test of what? A test to see which civilizations deserve to survive. Think about it. The planet is perfectly designed to defeat any conventional military force. But what if conventional military force isn't what it's testing for? Dr. Sang-hoon was nodding. The planet's defenses are based on studying and countering enemy technology. But they were confused when we destroyed our own ships. Maybe that's because destruction of one's own forces isn't a military tactic. It's something else. Sacrifice, said So-min quietly. We were willing to sacrifice everything rather than let our technology be used against Earth. The idea was slowly taking shape. What if the planet wasn't just destroying civilizations for the sake of destruction? What if it was looking for something specific, some quality that most species didn't possess? Admiral, said He-Jin, I recommend we don't return to Earth immediately. We need to understand what we're dealing with before we report back. Hyunwoo looked around the bridge at his surviving officers. These people had watched their friends and colleagues die. They had seen the impossible made real. They deserved to go home to their families. But Hyejin was right. They couldn't go back to Earth with just a story of defeat. They needed to understand what the planet was and why it existed. Because if they didn't figure it out, the next human fleet to encounter it would die just as quickly as this one had. Set course for the outer system, Hyunwoo ordered. We're going to study this thing from a safe distance. We need to learn everything we can before we go home. The 12 surviving ships turned away from Kepler 442b and headed for the edge of the star system. Behind them, the planet continued its eternal watch, waiting for the next civilization to discover its existence. And somewhere in its vast living mind, it was thinking about the strange species that had chosen death over defeat. 6 months later, the 12 surviving ships limped back into Earth's solar system. Admiral Hyunwoo Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched his home star grow brighter on the viewing screen. He should have felt relief or joy at coming home. Instead, he felt only the weight of failure. The trip back to Earth had been the longest 6 months of his life. The surviving crew members were haunted by what they had seen. Many couldn't sleep without having nightmares about the planet that had destroyed their fleet. Others spent their time staring at the star charts trying to understand how such a thing could exist. Incoming transmission from Earth Defense Command, reported Commander So-min Lee. Her voice was tired. All of them were tired. Put it through, Hyunwoo said. General Kyung-Soo Han appeared on the main screen. He was the head of Earth's military forces, an old friend who had helped plan the Great Assault. His face was eager and expectant. Hyunwoo, thank God you're back. We've been waiting for news of your victory. When do we celebrate the end of the war? Hyunwoo felt sick to his stomach. General, we need to talk. Not over an open channel. The happiness faded from General Han's face. What happened out there? We failed. The fleet is gone. We barely escaped with our lives. The silence that followed lasted for several long seconds. General Han's face went through shock, disbelief, and finally grim acceptance. Return to Earth immediately, he ordered. You'll report to the War Council as soon as you arrive. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in uncomfortable quiet. 3 days later, Hyunwoo stood before the United Earth Council in the Great Assembly Hall in Geneva. The most powerful people on Earth sat in rows of seats that rose up around him like an amphitheater. Their faces showed confusion, anger, and fear. Chancellor Jin A. Kim spoke first. She was the elected leader of Earth's government, a politician who had spent her career believing that human technology could solve any problem. Admiral Park, you're telling us that our greatest fleet, 50,000 ships built over a century, was destroyed in 10 minutes by a single planet? Yes, Chancellor. That's impossible, said Defense Minister Jun Ho-yu. Our ships were the most advanced ever built. Our weapons could destroy entire star systems. How could one planet defeat them? Dr. Sang-Hoon Baek stepped forward. He had spent the journey home analyzing every piece of data they had collected. Chancellor, with your permission, I'd like to explain what we encountered. The council members leaned forward as Dr. Sang-Hoon activated a holographic display in the center of the room. The image of Kepler 4482b appeared, rotating slowly in the air. This is not a normal planet, he began. Our analysis suggests that the entire world is a single living organism. Every molecule, every atom working together as part of one massive intelligence. That's science fiction nonsense, interrupted General Daewon Park from the military section. Planets can't be alive. With respect, General, we have the sensor recordings, Dr. Sang-Hoon replied. The planet demonstrated technology that we thought was impossible. It manipulated gravity, bent space-time, and turned our own computers against us. It destroyed our atmospheric processors by teaching the atmosphere to adapt to our chemicals. Chief Strategist Hye-Jin Choi joined the presentation. Chancellor, we believe this planet has been destroying military fleets for thousands of years. The wreckage around the world contains technology from at least 30 different civilizations. 30? Chancellor Kim's voice was barely a whisper. 30 that we could identify, Hye-Jin confirmed. There may have been more. Each civilization probably thought they were the most advanced in the galaxy. Each one was wrong. The council chamber erupted in worried conversations. Representatives talked urgently among themselves, their voices echoing off the walls. Defense Minister Yu called for order. Even if this is true, what do you recommend? Should we build a bigger fleet? Better weapons? No, said Hyunwoo firmly. That's exactly what every other civilization tried. The planet learns from every attack. It gets stronger with each fleet it destroys. If we send another military force, it will be even better prepared. Then what do you suggest? Demanded General Park. That we surrender? That we give up and wait for the aliens to destroy Earth? I suggest we think differently, Hyunwoo replied. For 6 months, my surviving crew and I have studied the sensor data from our encounter. We found something important. He nodded to Chief Engineer Da-Yoon Lim, who activated another section of the holographic display. It showed the final moments of the battle, when the remaining human ships had begun destroying themselves. Look at this carefully, Da-Yoon said. The planet's weapons stopped firing for 2.3 seconds when our ships began self-destructing. In 30,000 years of recorded attacks, this was the only time the planet's defenses paused. Why? Asked Chancellor Kim. Because no other species had ever done that before, explained Dr. Sang-Hoon. Every other civilization tried to save their ships and escape when they realized they were losing. But humans chose to destroy their own technology rather than let it be captured. So what? General Park was losing patience. We delayed the inevitable by 2 seconds. How does that help us? Navigator Wo-Jin Park, the youngest officer in the group, spoke up. General, what if the planet isn't trying to destroy civilizations? What if it's testing them? The council chamber fell silent. Testing them for what? Chancellor Kim asked. For qualities that can't be measured by military strength, Wo-Jin continued. The planet's defenses are perfect against any conventional attack, but they were confused by our willingness to sacrifice ourselves. Maybe that's because sacrifice isn't a military tactic. It's something else, added Lieutenant Tae Yang-yoon. It's proof that a species values something more than survival, more than victory, more than their own technology. The idea was revolutionary and terrifying. For 100 years, humanity had prepared for war by building better weapons and stronger ships. But what if the test wasn't about military power at all? You're suggesting, said Chancellor Kim slowly, that this planet is some kind of guardian? Something left behind by an ancient civilization to test younger species? That's our theory, confirmed He-jin. And if we're right, then sending another military fleet would be exactly the wrong response. What would be the right response? Asked Defense Minister Yu. Hyun-woo took a deep breath. We go back, but not as conquerors. As students, the chamber erupted in angry voices. Several military officers stood up to object. General Park was shouting about the impossibility of negotiating with a planet. Other council members demanded to know how anyone could communicate with a living world. Chancellor Kim called for order. When the noise died down, she looked directly at Hyun-woo. Admiral, are you suggesting we send people back to that system? After what happened to your fleet? Yes, Hyun-woo said. But not a military force. A small group of volunteers. Scientists, philosophers, teachers. People who go not to fight but to learn. That's suicide, General Park declared. You're asking people to fly directly into the mouth of a monster. Maybe, Hyun-woo admitted. But the alternative is worse. If we don't understand what that planet is testing for, we'll never be safe. It might come looking for Earth, or other species might find it and pass the test while we fail. Dr. Sang-hoon stepped forward again. Chancellor, we've analyzed the planet's behavior patterns. It only attacks military forces. It only destroys ships that come with weapons and soldiers. What if we send a ship with no weapons, no armor, no military technology at all? A ship full of civilians approaching a planet killer? Defense Minister Yu shook his head. It's madness. It's hope, corrected Hyejin. For the first time in 30,000 years, someone confused that planet's defenses. That means there's something it doesn't understand about humans. Something we can use. Chancellor Kim was quiet for a long time, thinking. Finally, she spoke. How long would you need to prepare such a mission? A year, said Hyun-woo. Maybe 2. We'd need to build a completely new type of ship. No weapons, no military systems. Just science equipment and communication gear. And we'd need to find the right people to send. Volunteers who know they might not come back, added So-min. People who understand that they're not going to fight, said Da-yoon. But to prove that humanity deserves to survive. The council chamber was quiet as everyone considered the proposal. It was unlike anything that had ever been attempted. Instead of responding to threat with greater force, they would respond with vulnerability. Instead of sending soldiers, they would send teachers. I'll volunteer, said Wojin suddenly. I want to go back. So will I, added Taeyang one by one. The survivors of the Great Fleet stepped forward to volunteer for what might be an even more dangerous mission. Chancellor Kim looked at their determined faces. Very well, she said finally. Begin preparations for a new kind of mission. Not to conquer a world, but to understand it. May God help us all. As the council session ended, Hyun-woo looked out through the great windows at the stars beyond Earth. Somewhere out there, an ancient intelligence waited on a living world. It had destroyed the greatest military forces in galactic history. But maybe, just maybe, it was waiting for something else. Maybe it was waiting for a species wise enough to choose understanding over conquest, brave enough to approach with open hands instead of clenched fists.